My adult daughter said, "You're too controlling. I'm cutting you off until you learn to respect my independence." She blocked my number and refused help with anything. When her abusive boyfriend isolated her from friends, she had no family safety net left to call. My name's Karen, 52 years old, female. I raised my daughter Emily, pretty much on my own after her dad dipped out when she was 6. She's 24 now, stubborn as hell, brilliant when she wants to be, and the type of kid who always swore she'd never repeat my mistakes. I thought that meant she'd build a better life, pick better men, treat herself with the respect I sometimes forgot to demand. But a few months ago, she sat across from me in my kitchen, her hands wrapped around a mug of coffee she hadn't touched, and she looked me dead in the eye. "You're too controlling. I'm cutting you off until you learn to respect my independence." That sentence hit like someone had kicked the legs out from under me. We weren't fighting. There wasn't some big blow-up. Just her voice, flat and final, while I sat there blinking like an idiot. I asked, "Where is this coming from, Emily?" "I don't control you. I worry about you." "That's not the same thing." But she was already shaking her head. Her boyfriend, Ryan, 28, tall, sharp-jawed, a smile that could sell you poison if he put it in a bottle, was waiting outside in his car. He'd been glaring at me through the window like he owned the house. Emily saw it as protective. I saw it as possession. We used to be close. She'd call me after long shifts at the hospital, tell me about the difficult patients, the funny coworkers. We'd spend Sundays cooking together, her chopping onions, me teaching her the recipes my mom taught me. She used to say she wanted to open a bakery one day, a small one, nothing fancy, just hers. Now it's like that girl doesn't exist. Ryan crept into her life slowly. At first he was charming, always insisting on helping her, looking out for her, making her laugh in that loud way that makes you think someone's happier than they really are. But little things started sticking out. He'd forget his wallet when they went out so Emily would cover it. He didn't like her going out with her friends unless he was there. He'd make subtle digs about her body, her job, me. And then he started putting words in her mouth. Things Emily never said before suddenly became the hill she was ready to die on. That I was too nosy. That I meddled when I asked her if she needed help paying off her car loan. That I was controlling because I asked her to let me know she got home safe when she drove late at night. I thought maybe she'd snap out of it, see him for what he was. Instead, she blocked my number. No texts, no calls, no answering the door when I showed up after weeks of silence. Just gone. And let me tell you, I sat on my bed night after night with my phone in my hand, staring at her contact picture, trying to type something that would break through. Apologies I didn't mean, begging I hated myself for. I didn't hit send. But I thought about it. Because here's the thing, I wasn't controlling. I was her mother. And I knew damn well Ryan wasn't looking out for her. He was cutting every lifeline she had until the only person she could lean on was him. And the day she cut me off, she didn't just slam the door on me, she slammed it on every bit of safety she'd ever known. After she blocked me, the silence was brutal. I'd wake up, check my phone, and there'd be nothing. No good morning text, no headed to work check-in. Just a black hole where my daughter used to be. I tried reaching her through her best friend, Lily. She told me Emily had pulled away from everyone, not just me. No girls' nights anymore, no lunch dates, no texts back. Lily said Ryan didn't like her crowd, said they were a bad influence. Translation: he didn't like anyone who reminded Emily of who she used to be. Then, the first real warning hit. A neighbor called me one night, whispering because she didn't want to get dragged into drama. She said she heard yelling from Emily's apartment. Something slamming, glass breaking, Emily crying. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my keys, drove over, and stood outside her door listening. I swear I could hear Ryan's voice through the walls, low and sharp like a knife, and Emily's muffled sobs. I knocked, called her name. The apartment went dead silent. Then Ryan opened the door, shirtless, smiling too wide. "Karen," he said like we were old friends, "you really shouldn't pop up uninvited. Em's tired. She doesn't want company." I tried to look past him, but he shifted his body, blocking the view. My daughter's voice came from somewhere inside, small and broken. "Mom, please go." I left that night shaking, sick to my stomach. Every instinct screamed at me to drag her out of there, but I knew if I pushed, Ryan would only use it as proof that I was controlling. And Emily, God help her, believed it. Over the next few weeks, little things started happening that didn't feel random. One morning, my car tires were slashed in my driveway. No robbery, nothing else touched. Just 4 clean cuts. Another time, I came home to find the back gate of my yard wide open, though I'd locked it that morning. My dog was gone for hours before a neighbor found him wandering. I couldn't prove it was Ryan, but I knew. The timing was too perfect. Then I got a call from my boss. Someone had been calling the office asking questions about me, claiming I was unstable, that I had a drinking problem. Totally false, but enough to make people at work start side-eyeing me. Who else would do that but the man who wanted me cut off from every part of Emily's life? I tried one more time to break through. I wrote Emily a letter, long and messy, apologizing for whatever she thought I did wrong, begging her to remember she always had me. I slipped it under her door. The next day, I found it torn in half, shoved into my mailbox. That's when it hit me. Ryan wasn't just isolating her. He was actively destroying any bridge back to me. And Emily, she was letting him. Don't forget to subscribe. It all came to a head at my niece's birthday party. Emily hadn't come to a family event in months, but she surprised us by showing up with Ryan. I'll never forget it. She looked thinner, pale, like someone had drained the color out of her. She smiled when she saw me, but it wasn't the same smile. It was forced, like she was checking if Ryan approved first. At first, things seemed fine. Ryan turned on the charm, cracking jokes with my brother-in-law, helping himself to beer from the cooler like he belonged there. But every time Emily talked to someone, his hand clamped around her waist, pulling her back close, like she was property. Then Emily's little cousin ran up to her, tugging her arm, asking if she wanted cake. Emily laughed and walked off with the kid, just for a minute. I caught Ryan's face in that moment. His jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. Not 5 minutes later, he stormed across the yard and yanked Emily's arm so hard she nearly spilled her plate. He whispered something sharp into her ear, but loud enough that a couple of us heard, "Don't walk off like that again." Emily's eyes darted around, panicked. She tried to laugh it off, but Ryan wasn't having it. His voice rose. "You think it's funny? Disappearing like that? Making me look like an idiot?" Everyone froze. The kids went silent. My sister finally stepped in saying, "Hey man, relax. It's a birthday party." That's when Ryan lost it. He slammed his beer bottle onto the patio table so hard it shattered, beer and glass flying everywhere. The sound jolted through the yard. Emily flinched like she expected him to hit her right there. I moved before I even thought. "That's enough, Ryan. Leave, now." He turned on me, eyes wild. "This is what I'm talking about, Emily. Your mom can't stop interfering. She poisons everything." Emily's lip trembled. She looked at me like she wanted me to save her, and at him like she was terrified not to agree with him. And then she said the words that gutted me. "Mom, please, just stop." Ryan dragged her out by the arm. She didn't fight him. She didn't even look back. The second they were gone, everyone started talking at once about how dangerous he seemed, how Emily looked trapped. But the only thing I could hear was my daughter begging me to stop, as if protecting her was the problem. That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of him gripping her arm, the glass exploding across the table, the way she flinched, burned into me. And I knew. This wasn't just toxic anymore. It was dangerous. 2 weeks after the birthday blow-up, my phone buzzed at 1 a.m. It wasn't Emily. It was Lily, her best friend. Her voice was shaking. "Karen, it's bad. Ryan locked Emily out of their apartment. She's sitting on the curb crying. I tried to get her to come to me, but she says Ryan checks her location, and if she goes anywhere else, he'll make her pay." I was out the door before she finished. When I pulled up, my headlights caught Emily curled on the concrete, barefoot, mascara streaking her cheeks. Her phone was in her lap, screen spiderwebbed from being thrown. Ryan's voice thundered from inside the apartment, calling her every name you can imagine. I jumped out. "Emily, get in the car, right now." Her head snapped up, eyes red. For a split second, I thought she'd run to me. But then she shook her head violently. "Mom, I can't. He'll know. He'll—" The apartment door flew open. Ryan stood there shirtless again, holding her purse like a trophy. "What did I say about running to mommy every time we have a fight?" he sneered. I stepped forward, ready to tear into him, but Emily grabbed my arm, whispering so fast I barely caught it. "Don't. Please. He'll hurt me later." That whisper broke me. She was already calculating his rage, already thinking of survival. Ryan threw the purse into the parking lot and spat. "Take it and get the hell back inside." Emily scrambled to grab it, her hands shaking. Then she turned to me, eyes wet and hollow. "Go home, Mom." I just stood there, frozen. My daughter, my baby, was begging me to leave her with the man who terrified her. And here's the part that still haunts me. I did. I left. Because in that moment, I realized she didn't have me anymore. He'd stripped away every bit of trust until even rescue felt like betrayal. 3 days later, she blocked Lily too. No friends, no family, no safety net. And when Ryan's violence finally crossed a line, she had no one left to call. Don't forget to subscribe. Update. I didn't expect so many people to respond. Honestly, I figured maybe a handful would skim this and move on. But reading through your comments, wow. Some of you were kind, some of you were brutal, and some of you flat out said what I've been too afraid to admit. The comment that gutted me was from someone who said, "You didn't lose her. He stole her." I've been sitting with that sentence for hours. Because it feels true. Emily's not gone, not really. It's like she's trapped somewhere I can't reach. And yes, I saw the people saying I should have dragged her out that night, called the cops, forced the issue. Trust me, I hear you. But here's the part you don't get unless you've watched someone you love shrink down to nothing. Emily isn't ready to leave him yet. If I drag her, she'll just run back harder. If I fight him in front of her, she'll think I'm the enemy, not him. That's how deep his claws are. Some of you called me weak. Said I failed her? That one stung. Because I feel like I did fail her. I left her sitting on that curb crying and I drove away. I can still see her face in my rearview mirror. I hate myself for it. But I also know this. I'm not giving up. I can't storm his apartment, but I can watch. I can wait. I can be there the second she needs me. And maybe, just maybe, I can make sure when the fall comes, it's Ryan who hits the ground hardest. Someone else commented, "Abusers always screw up. They can't help it. He'll push too far and she'll need you. Be ready." Well, I'm ready. And Ryan has no idea what's coming. It didn't take long for Ryan to screw up, just like one of you said. A week after that night in the parking lot, I got a call from the ER. Not Emily, one of the nurses I know. She whispered that Emily had been brought in with a sprained wrist and bruises along her ribs. The story Ryan gave was that she fell down the stairs. Classic. By the time I got there, Ryan was already pacing in the waiting room, loud and animated, telling anyone who'd listen how clumsy Emily was. When he saw me, his whole face twisted. "You don't belong here," he snapped. "I'm her mother," I said, steady but shaking inside. He leaned in close, voice low enough only I could hear. "One more step into that room and I'll make sure she never speaks to you again. She doesn't need a helicopter, Mom. She needs a man who knows what's best for her." The arrogance in his tone. It was like he believed his own lies. Emily came out a half hour later, arm in a sling, eyes down. Ryan wrapped his arm around her and kissed her temple. She flinched so slightly I don't think he noticed. But I did. And that's when it clicked. He wasn't untouchable. He wasn't even smart. He was sloppy. He made scenes in public. He couldn't hide the bruises forever. And if Emily was too trapped to call him out, maybe I could start pulling threads myself. So I started watching. Not stalking, watching. When Ryan left their apartment, I was parked a block away. When he went to the bar, I noted who he left with, what time he stumbled out. When Emily called in sick to work 3 days in a row, I already knew it was because he'd taken her car and drained the gas. The more I saw, the more I realized he wasn't just abusive. He was reckless. He screamed in public, stiffed bartenders on tips, picked fights in parking lots. He thought intimidation worked on everyone. So I began collecting. Every outburst, every broken bottle, every time he left Emily crying in a corner while he strutted like a king. Photos, notes, timestamps, witnesses who'd muttered, "What a piece of work," when they thought no one was listening. And here's where fate finally handed me something solid. Ryan lost it at a grocery store. Emily had asked for almond milk instead of regular, and he threw the carton on the ground, milk splashing everywhere. He grabbed her by the wrist so hard the cashier shouted, "Hey, let go of her!" I was there, right there in line behind them, and this time I didn't stay silent. "Funny," I said loud enough for everyone to hear, phone in my hand. "The ER just called that a sprain last week. Want me to show everyone the paperwork?" Ryan froze. People stared. Emily's face went pale. He dropped her wrist like it burned. "Mind your business," he hissed, but his voice cracked. And that was it, the first time I saw fear in him. I walked Emily to my car. She wouldn't get in, wouldn't even meet my eyes. But when Ryan came storming out of the store, red-faced, she said one thing I'll never forget. "Mom, whatever you're doing, don't stop." That was all the permission I needed. Ryan didn't take the grocery store incident quietly. 2 nights later, I woke up to the sound of gravel crunching outside my house. When I opened the blinds, my headlights were smashed in. My mailbox had been torn out of the ground and tossed across the lawn. A note was duct taped to my door. "Stay out of my relationship or else." No signature, didn't need one. I called the cops, but what could I prove? They wrote a report, shrugged, and told me to install cameras. Typical. That was my breaking point. He wasn't just hurting Emily anymore, he was dragging me into his chaos. And if he wanted a war, fine. But I wasn't fighting fair. I already had weeks of notes, photos, timestamps. Now I started threading them together, turning his pattern of isolating and exploding into a story people couldn't ignore. But revenge isn't just about evidence. It's about timing. The timing came faster than I expected. Ryan loved attention almost as much as he loved control. So when his buddy threw a backyard cookout, of course he dragged Emily along, parading her like some kind of trophy. I showed up too. Not invited, obviously, but my sister lived 2 doors down, and I knew Ryan wouldn't dare start something with a crowd around. At first, he tried to ignore me, jaw tight, eyes darting every time I caught Emily's gaze. But alcohol and ego don't mix well. By the time he was on his 4th beer, his voice was booming across the yard, bragging about how he keeps his woman in line. That was my moment. I pulled out my phone and hit play. His voice, clear as day from the grocery store. "Don't walk off like that again. Don't make me look like an idiot." Then another clip of him screaming in the parking lot. Then photos of Emily's bruises. The crowd went dead quiet. Ryan lunged at me, eyes blazing, but 3 guys held him back. One shouted, "What the hell is wrong with you, man?" Someone else muttered, "That's abuse." Emily stood frozen, eyes wide. For the first time, she wasn't just defending him out of fear. She was seeing it, the whole ugly truth, through other people's eyes. Ryan thrashed against the guys holding him, screaming that I was lying, that Emily was crazy. The more he shouted, the more unhinged he looked. And the whole thing was being recorded, phones up everywhere, people capturing every second. Emily whispered, almost too quiet to hear, "Mom, thank you." That was it. The shift. Ryan didn't just lose control of Emily that night. He lost his image, his power, his stage. And I made damn sure he couldn't crawl back from it. Update 2. I honestly didn't think I'd be back so soon, but wow. Things blew up faster than I expected, literally in front of half the neighborhood. First off, thank you. I read every single comment on the last update, even the brutal ones. A lot of you said, "Don't wait, don't hold back. He'll never stop until you take the power away." I thought maybe that was just internet talk. Turns out, you were right. So yeah, I went nuclear. Played the recordings, showed the bruises, let Ryan hang himself with his own words. You should have seen his face when the phones came out. He looked less like a man and more like a cornered animal. Someone in the crowd even yelled, "Bro, you're done." And the best part? It wasn't just me against him anymore. For months, he made me the villain in Emily's eyes. But when she heard strangers, people she barely knew, call it what it was, something shifted. She finally saw him the way the rest of us did. Some of y'all in the comments joked about petty revenge. like dumping sugar in his gas tank or plastering his mugshot around town. Trust me, tempting. But the truth is, nothing I could do in secret would have hit harder than him unraveling in public with an audience filming every second. Since then, Ryan's been blowing up Emily's phone, begging, threatening, alternating between, "I'll change," and "You'll regret this." She's not answering. For the first time, she came to me. She's been sleeping in her old room, eating real meals, breathing without looking over her shoulder. I'm not naive. I know the damage isn't fixed overnight. She's fragile, still second-guessing herself, still half-expecting him to show up. But she finally admitted he scared her. That's something I never thought I'd hear her say out loud. And Ryan? Well, videos have a funny way of traveling fast. Word is his boss saw them. His landlord, too. The guy who thought he was untouchable is now radioactive. Exactly how it should be. So for everyone who told me to wait for the right moment, thank you. I was drowning in guilt, thinking I failed her. But last night, when Emily whispered, "Thank you," that was the first time in months I felt like her mom again. And I swear, I'm not letting her slip back into his shadow. Ever. Ryan didn't take the public humiliation quietly. 2 days after the cookout, he showed up at my house. Middle of the afternoon, pounding on my door so hard the glass rattled. Emily froze on the couch, pale. I grabbed my phone, already dialing 911. He shouted loud enough for the neighbors to hear, "You ruined my life. She's mine, Karen. You don't get to steal her from me." By the time the cops arrived, Ryan was red-faced, spitting, still screaming. They cuffed him right there on my front lawn while half the street watched from their porches. One officer told me quietly that the videos circulating online made this a lot easier. They'd already had complaints about him, but now they had evidence. Emily was shaking, but when the door shut and the sirens faded, she whispered, "He's really gone, isn't he?" "Not forever," I told her. "Abusers always try to crawl back." But for now, he was out of her orbit. The fallout snowballed fast. Ryan's job cut him loose. Apparently, clients didn't like being represented by the guy screaming at women on Facebook Live. His landlord filed for eviction after the police call. And Lily told me half his old drinking buddies had stopped answering his calls. He went from center stage to radioactive in less than a week. Meanwhile, Emily was fragile. That's the only word. She kept apologizing, over and over, for blocking me, for telling me I was controlling, for leaving me in the dark. I had to stop her. I told her, the only person who should be sorry is him. You don't owe me apologies for being manipulated. But I'll admit, hearing her say, "I'm sorry," cracked something in me. Because for months I'd convinced myself I'd lost her for good. The first real sign of her old self came one evening. We were making dinner, and she reached for the onions without me saying a word, just like she used to when we'd cook together. Her hands were still unsteady, but she smiled for the first time in months. "Mom," she said quietly, "I think I want to call Lily tomorrow, and maybe go back to work next week." That's when I knew the spell was breaking. Ryan was still out there, angry and cornered. But Emily wasn't alone anymore, and he was no longer the one writing the script. Ryan tried one last time. It was 2 weeks after his arrest. Emily had just started back at the hospital, only part-time, but it was something. She was driving home late when a car started tailing her, headlights blinding in the rear view. She pulled into my driveway and the car stopped right at the curb. It was him. He rolled down the window, wild-eyed, shouting, "Emily, baby, just talk to me. She's poisoned you. You know I love you." Emily froze, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles went white. For a second, I thought she'd run to him. Old habits, fear, hope twisted into chains. But then she opened the door, stepped out, and stood in the driveway with her head high. Her voice cracked but carried, "You don't own me. You never did. Stay away from me." The neighbors came out. Phones up. Ryan saw the cameras and panicked. He slammed the car into reverse and sped off, tires squealing. Emily turned to me, tears running down her face. "I did it," she whispered. "I finally told him." That night, she slept without flinching at every sound. And here's the part that matters. Ryan never came back. The restraining order stuck, His reputation never recovered, and last I heard, he was couch surfing in another town. Nobody willing to put up with his rage. But Emily, she's rebuilding. Slowly. She cooks with me again. She laughs with Lily. She's saving to get her own place, this time on her terms. And me? I've stopped blaming myself. I used to replay every choice, every time I walked away instead of dragging her out. But now I see it. If I had tried to force her, she would have just clung tighter to him. She had to see him crash. She had to feel the floor give way under him before she could step away. I was there to catch her when she did. That's what mattered. The last thing she said before bed tonight stuck with me. Thanks for never letting go, even when I told you to. And for the first time in a long time, I believe her when she says she's going to be okay.